Presented by Listen Headlines, latest world news from trusted sources. Updating daily at 6 a.m. New York.
Washington Post World, March 24, 5:06 America, New York. Prominent Somali woman lawmaker among 15 killed in bombing. Police in Somalia say that a prominent woman lawmaker is among at least 15 people killed in a suicide bombing at a polling station in rural central Somalia.
New York Times World News.
March 24, 5 o'clock America, New York. A frightening repeat, Ukrainian World War II survivors face conflict again. Nearly 80 years after Ukraine emerged from a devastating world war that killed more than 5 million of its people, Russia's invasion has stirred memories that the country had struggled to overcome. Boris Zabarko, a survivor of World War II, fled his home in Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital, and is now in Stuttgart, Germany.
Mirror World News.
March 24, 4:57 America, New York. Doomsday plane worth £150 million designed for nuclear war spotted flying over England. The infamous Doomsday plane that cost a reported £150 million each were designed to help U.S. leaders continue their war efforts after a nuclear blast.
World News. Breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
March 24, 4:56 America, New York. South Korea fires multiple missiles in response to North Korea's rocket launch, its military says. South Korea has fired multiple missiles in response to North Korea's earlier intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, launch, its military has said. One of 6 missile tests said to have been conducted by North Korea this month. Pic. AP.
Fox World News.
March 24, 4:46 America, New York. North Korea fires suspected long-range missile toward sea. North Korea fired a suspected long-range missile toward the sea Thursday, its neighbor's military said. The launch, which extended North Korea's barrage of weapons tests this year, came after the U.S.
Fox World News.
March 24, 4:40 America, New York. Ukraine, destroyed. A Russian naval vessel, Kyiv Navy claims. Ukraine's Navy claimed to have destroyed a Russian vessel on Thursday morning in the port of Berdyansk on the Black Sea southwest of Mariupol.
New York Times World News.
March 24, 4:36 America, New York. North Korea tests new ICBM, escalating hostilities. It was the country's first long-range ballistic missile test since 2017, and it raised the specter of intensified provocations and threats on the Korean peninsula. News coverage in Seoul on Thursday, after North Korea carried out its latest missile launch. Washington Post World.
March 24, 4:33 America, New York. China's foreign minister makes surprise stop in Kabul. China's foreign minister made a surprise stop in Kabul to meet Afghanistan's Taliban rulers even as the international community fumes over the hardline movement's broken promise a day earlier to open schools to girls beyond grade 6.
New York Times World News.
March 24, 4:28 America, New York. Australia agrees to let New Zealand resettle offshore refugees. Under the arrangement, first offered in 2013, New Zealand will take in 150 refugees a year for 3 years from Australia's widely criticised detention system. The East Lorangau Refugee Transit Centre on Manus Island, Papua New Guinea, in 2018, in a photo provided by Aziz Abdul, a refugee who spent 4 years in detention on Manus.
Mirror World News.
March 24, 4:24 America, New York. Russia has lost thousands of troops and will throw conscripts into battle, MOD says. The Ministry of Defense's latest update says Vladimir Putin has so far lost thousands of his troops in his illegal war in Ukraine, who he will replace with inexperienced conscripts.
BBC News World.
March 24, 4:10 America, New York. North Korea tests banned intercontinental missile. North Korea has tested a banned intercontinental missile for the first time since 2017, according to South Korea.
WorldCBSNews.com.
March 24, 4 o'clock America, New York. Zelensky calls for worldwide demonstrations backing Ukraine. In a remote address, Ukraine's president is expected to implore NATO leaders gathered in Brussels to supply his country with even more weapons and other forms of support.
Mirror World News.
March 24, 3:58 America, New York. A month of madness. How Russia's invasion of Ukraine has fallen apart day by day. The Mirror's Matt Roper traces a month of madness from the moment Vladimir Putin's troops invaded neighboring Ukraine to today, as Russia's war machine digs in for a long and difficult occupation.
BBC News World. March 24. 3:33 America New York. War in Ukraine. Zelensky calls on people to support freedom and oppose Russia. Volodymyr Zelensky made his appeal in English, marking 1 month since Russia invaded Ukraine.
Time.
March 24, 3:28 America New York. Donald Trump committed numerous felony violations, NY prosecutor says in resignation letter. New York. A prosecutor who had been leading a criminal investigation into Donald Trump before quitting last month said in his resignation letter that he believes the former president is guilty of numerous felony violations, and he disagreed with the Manhattan District Attorney's decision not to seek an indictment.
Time. March 24, 3:18 America New York. Up to 15,000 Russian soldiers killed in Ukraine, NATO estimates. Kyiv, Ukraine. NATO estimated on Wednesday that 7,000 to 15,000 Russian soldiers have been killed in 4 weeks of war in Ukraine, where fierce resistance from the country's defenders has denied Moscow the lightning victory it sought.
Washington Post World.
March 24, 3 o'clock America New York. At Polish site, Ukrainians trained to fly drones for rescue missions and targeting Russians. An American manufacturer is providing the aircraft and teaching the Ukrainians how to operate them.
WorldCBSNews.com.
March 24, 2:59 America New York. North Korea test fires what South says may have been ICBM. It's the latest in a recent series of weapons tests that experts say seems designed to advance its arsenal and apply pressure on Washington over a deepening freeze in nuclear negotiations.
BBC News World.
March 24, 2:21 America New York. China Eastern crash. What do we know so far? The plane with 132 people had been steadily cruising along when it suddenly nose-dived thousands of meters. Time.
March 24, 2 o'clock America New York. 5 ways to avert the global food security crisis. The potentially disastrous implications of the war in Ukraine for global food security are clear. The equally bleak implications of the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report for the resilience of the food system are even starker.